What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. In today's video, we're going to walk through my entire 2023 tournament kayak build. For those who are new here, you can go back to my playlist. I have a full playlist of this entire kayak build as well as the trailer build itself. Everything that's been done to this kayak has been done in this garage by myself. It's a complete DIY build. Over the course of the season, a lot of different things have been done to this build. This is my first year doing a full complete kayak build by myself, so definitely it was a big learning process. Before we jump into the build, I do want to mention that a lot of the stuff done to this kayak is not necessary for the average angler. I'm a tournament angler. I'm also a gear junkie, so a lot of things that's been done to this kayak is done for my style of fishing, my taste. Now that we got that out of the way, the kayak behind me is a Hobie Pro Angler 14360 Mike Iaconelli edition. Just a quick overview of the kayak as it sits right now. Obviously, I have a trailer for it. I wet launch this kayak everywhere I go. I got bunks underneath so that I can actually power load it on the trailer and also just float it off wherever I need to go. I did purchase a cover for this. This is a Carver cover, basically your normal boat cover, waterproof, super thick material. I love this thing. When I'm traveling up and down the West Coast, I do want to make sure that everything in there is protected. It rains a lot here in the Pacific Northwest, so the last thing I want is to get to the lake, the river, whatever it is, and just have it all dirty. Along with that, the cover makes it really nice, just so that when I go to a grocery store, whatever it is, I don't just have my entire kayak open. And obviously, a lot of the stuff that's on the kayak, it can be removed pretty easily, so I don't need coming out to the parking lot and having stuff missing off the kayak. Of course, if someone really wanted to get in here overnight in the parking lot, whatever it is, they'll do it, but it is a small deterrent for those type of things. And for those who are curious, this kayak definitely handles highway speeds and excessive highway speeds. No problem, no rips, no nothing, handles it great. Let me pull this cover off and I'll show you guys how my kayak is totally rigged out for a tournament. Here it is. This is how the kayak would look if I were to pull up to the boat launch and go fish a tournament. Exactly how it sits right now. Like I said, there's a lot of things done in this kayak, but everything's purposeful for my style of fishing. There's not anything on here that I feel like I wouldn't use every day on the water. I do want to mention that a lot of the things on this kayak, I did get some help along the way. You know, not everything on this kayak was paid full retail. I did get some help, whether it's discounts or products being sent to me. Next Adventure was a big part in helping me get this kayak build to where it was. You know, they actually helped me get this kayak itself, and also with some of the accessories and stuff that Next Adventure carries, obviously I was able to get some discounts along the way as well. With that being said, along the way, I'm gonna walk you guys through some of the things that I liked and also some of the things I disliked or I might change along the way. Starting off with the kayak itself, like I said, Hobie Pro Angler 14360 Mike Iaconelli edition. Red's kind of my color, so I was really excited that I had the opportunity to jump in this specific kayak. Kayak is about 13.5 feet long, provides a lot of space, and obviously with all the accessories that I planned on putting it, you know, weight capacity is a big thing when it came to this kayak. Now, of course, there's a lot of other kayaks that are just as big, but there's a lot of little things about this kayak that I really enjoy. First off, obviously the 360, you know, I can rotate this kayak in whatever direction I want. Biggest thing about that is if I get in a tight area, I just hated making like 20-point turns in order to turn around and go out a different direction, you know, 180 degrees. Some of the little things like having the ability to pull your rudders, your skags, your transducer tucked up into the kayak. Obviously the seat, you know, I love this seat. The fact that it has a lumbar adjustment, I can adjust the seat, the height of the seat itself, the back, incline, decline, you know, to fit my body and the way I like to sit. That was a big part of choosing this kayak as well. I will say that the one thing I don't like about this kayak specifically, and that goes for the 14 model, is that the bow runs pretty low. There's a lot of times this year where it gets pretty choppy on the water, and with the way I have the kayak set up, you know, I have most of my way in the back, but I do still have some things in the front, and that bow just plows through waves. Other than that, I think overall the kayak fits me and my style of fishing really well. So now let's talk about accessories. I think we're gonna start in the back and work our way up to the front. Starting at the back of the kayak, we have the motor that pushes this beast of a kayak. I decided to run a Torqeedo 1103 AC. This is a 3-horse equivalent motor. Did a lot of research before I started putting together this kayak, and ultimately it came down to the reliability and the speed of this. With this motor on the controller, the throttle in the front, it tells me how much distance in miles I have left on my battery. So this motor has never left me stranded. I'm able to adjust my speed so that I can get back to the boat launch. One thing about this motor that people don't know about is that if something goes wrong, and if something goes wrong, that throttle right there shows codes that you can track down and figure out what's wrong. A lot of times when I'm putting this motor together real quick, you know, some of these wires that goes into the battery, I don't tie them down all the way. And when I try to power on this motor, I'll look and it'll throw a code and it'll tell me that either one of these cords is not plugged in all the way. And that's the nice thing. The last thing you want is something that goes wrong and you can't figure out what it is. One of the biggest questions I get asked is how fast do I get in this kayak with this motor? And on average, wide open, about 6.4 miles an hour. Now, I don't run that all the time. A lot of times I run about 5.5, 6 miles an hour, and that's plenty of speed in the kayak world. If you watch a lot of my tournament videos, a lot of times I am ahead of everybody. I'm leaving people in the dust, and it's nice because I do get a chance to pick wherever my starting spot is and get there before everyone else. One thing I did add to this motor is the little grass cutter for your normal trolling motor. Now the prop rotates a totally different direction, but my biggest thing is that when I put this kayak in reverse real quick, just like a normal boat, it just pushes all that grass forward and it helps cut it up. So even though the prop is not going the same direction as that grass cutter, it still works the same way, and it honestly has saved me from having the finagle of getting grass off that motor itself. This motor is fully rigged up with a full lift system and also foot control steering from Innovative Sportsman. So up here where I'm sitting and I'm fishing, I can use my feet left and right and push this motor right. I can push it left. And that way, it's all hands-free. I can fish. I don't have to worry about anything. Also up here, I have my lift system to lift my motor. If I'm going up shallow or I'm just putting the kayak in the water, pushing it on the bank, I can just easily lift this motor up in the air. As you can see, by pulling it, the motor is up in the air. I don't have to worry about it dragging on the ground, hitting rocks, hitting logs if I'm going over shallow areas. And of course, if I just want to drop it right down, just lift up, just lower that motor down itself. And as for the throttle, I have it just a little bit behind my seat so that I don't accidentally bump the throttle with my elbow or my fishing rod, whatever it is. To secure the throttle, I have it paired with a Yak Attack Torpedo throttle mount and the Mighty Mount Duo Rail adapter from Yak Attack. To mount the motor to my kayak, I have a 1 objective plate, and on that plate I did one of these Yak Attack gear tracks. It's a 4-inch one, and that's where I put my flag. I like to have my flag as far back as possible so that I don't accidentally make a cast and get it hung up. It's a perfect place. I can easily just untwist it and pull off my Yak Attack Visi Carbon Pro. In front of that, we have where I put majority of my tackle. This is a Yak Attack Black Pack Pro 13x16. I did add extra rod holders so I could fit 8 rods on this thing, no problem. One thing that I did add to this black pack was a dual USB port so that I can charge my phone on the water if I really needed to. This is connected to my 12-volt, 10-amp-hour Dakota lithium battery. In front of my black pack, I have both my Torpedo batteries. I have those mounted with just cam straps to some Yak Attack tie downs that are connected on the black pack itself. At the beginning of the year, I only ran 1 battery and it was perfectly fine, but ultimately I'm a speed demon. I like to run fast. If I can go 5.5, 6 miles per hour all day long, I will, and that's the reason why I have 2. In my last sprint during practice, I did about a little over 16 miles, and with that, I only killed 1 battery and maybe 20% off my second one, and that's going 5.5 miles per hour all day long. Usually behind my seat, I just put my plastics in some Bass Mafia money bags. That way, I can just come home, put my plastics back in whatever bins and stuff and just dump whatever plastics I need for the next tournament. That's the way I like to stay organized. I just hate having stuff misplaced, and this just makes it real easy to know exactly what I need on the water. For recording on the water, I just use a Yak Attack Panfish Pro connected to that Yak Attack H-Rail mount GoPro Hero 10. I run a longer USB-C cord. As for a power source, I just use these portable power banks. For some reason with these, you can take your battery out and the GoPro will not detect that you're not running a battery in it, so I can run it all day and usually don't have too many overheating problems unless it's like 90 degrees out. Of course, we have my Hobie cup holder on the outside of the kayak so I can put my drinks here for the day. Moving up to the seat, we have a Burley Pro prison pocket. This is usually where I stick my pliers, a little 1800 size Bass Mafia box to keep terminal tackle, and also it has little hangers right here along the side so I can put, you know, my jack cameras, spin rates, whatever, and let them dry before putting them back in the box. On the side here is where I keep my catch board, and I have a RoboHawk tether that hooks onto that. Too many times people have flipped and have their catch boards, you know, float away, whatever it is. So I have that tethered right here to the seat. And in front of the seat, we have the two graphs that we run. These are both Lowrance Elite FS9 9-inch graphs, touchscreen. I've really enjoyed using both of these graphs. This one right here I've actually used last year, and this year I added this one for front-facing sonar. I know some people like to run two graphs up front, but for me, I like to have one along my side so that I can easily just mark my waypoints and adjust my mapping, all that stuff. And that one's just strictly used for front-facing sonar, so I rarely touch that one at all. The other nice thing about having this graph here is that I can put my net along the sides so that I don't have to worry about my fish jumping off the side of the kayak when I'm measuring them. But basically, this graph is strictly used for mapping, 2D, down scan, and side scan, exactly how it's laid out. And again, this one is for front-facing sonar. If I'm not using it, I actually have two mapping chips, Navy Onyx in this one, and on this one I have C-map mapping. Both are completely different. So there's some places I go to where one map shows a little more detail than the other. So with that, I can look at both of them and figure out which one has a better detail on the body of water I'm fishing. On this graph, just for adjustability, I have a ram mount that mounts it to the kayak. Just to protect this graph, I do have a Burley Pro visor so that one, it can reflect sun glare, but also it protects it just in case my bait gets a little too close to this. My front graph, I just have two H-rail mounting plates that mounts this one to this custom H-rail. All the wiring on this kayak I did myself. Everything is soldered, is heat shrink wrapped, and upgraded wiring. As you can see, I put wiring loom around all my wires to protect them. Even on my front graph right here, everything's protected, zip tied all the way into the hole. Speaking of the H-rail, I do have a custom H-rail that I cut and built so that I didn't have to drill holes. There's a 21-inch rail that people use to drill to this plate right here. Mine just goes right into the track so that I don't have to drill any holes. Love it. Obviously, I have a roto grip from Yak Attack right here. That's where I put my net on the front so that it doesn't fall off. On this side, I do have another Yak Attack H-rail mount with a little 1-inch ball so I can put another GoPro there if I wanted to. Next to it, I have this puck right here. It is a Lowrance .1 GPS antenna. It's a heading sensor, and I have it mounted on a one objective puck mount, held together by two Yak Attack 90-degree mounts. Basically, that heading sensor makes it so that on my GPS, I always have a full heading to the direction of my kayak. So a lot of times when you're fishing on a spot, your GPS will always rotate in several different directions because it's trying to find the position you are if you're not moving. With that little antenna, it makes it so that I can stay true. I can target some of my places offshore that I cannot see, and I know I'm always pointed in the right direction. Now for this front graph, obviously running front-facing sonar, I am running Lowrance Active Target 2, and I have that mounted on a Sniper Marine kayak pole. I love this. The guys at Sniper Marine sent this to me for the kayak build. Now the trailer is currently in the way, but with this, all you do is just rotate the handle and your transducer rotates. You do have an arrow on top that tells you which direction it's facing, which is really nice. But when I'm sitting in my seat, I never have to look over and see what direction that's pointing. It always stays true. I think one of the cool things about my front-facing sonar setup is that I can take this all off if I needed to. I have my wire running all the way through to this one objective plate. It used to be a rod holder here, but I have this plate. I do have some USB ports right there, but I have a through hole system. This is just from Amazon, where I can easily just pull this wiring and the plug off and just remove this whole system. I'll show you guys how easily that can be pulled out when you hop into the front of the kayak. Now throughout this entire kayak, I really do only have minimal holes, and that is just for mainly these lighting. I have white lights up front. These are Yak power lights, and on the side I have red lights. Early in the morning, I will have those red lights on along with my nav lights up front. Red is a lot easier on the eyes, and that's the reason why I have those, so that I can tie my knots and I can have good visibility inside of the kayak. These bright white lights up front, those are my rigging lights. So when I pull up to the boat launch, I'll turn this on so I can see the full length of the kayak and get all my rigging done. And obviously when I'm on the water, those go off right away. Inside this little hatch is kind of a junk drawer. Keep a lot of things in here, you know, extra line, scale, sunscreen, scents, dyes. I always keep some Allen wrenches. Yeah, a little rusted, but to get the job done. Little pouch in here. Keep a little extra GoPro mounts. Also have my little O-ring tool, just in case. I have a fizzing tool and an extra whistle, just in case. In here you'll also find this, which is my KAYAK power hub. This has all the buttons for my grass, my lights, everything, so that when I'm sitting in my seat, I can easily just turn on my power, turn off my nav lights, turn on my grass, turn off my active target, whatever it is. So in the front, and this kayak has a huge hatch. I love that. I can store a whole bunch of stuff in here, but typically this is usually what it looks like. I have a bunch of paracord. That's how I launch my kayak by myself. I have one end that clips to a carabiner in the front, and this ties off to my canopy actually, so that I can just back this in the water, kayak floats off. When I pull forward, it pulls the kayak up front. But in this bin houses my power source for all my batteries. Dakota Lithium 12 volt 54 amp hour battery. Never had this thing die on me. I fished 2 full days and never had it die. Never ran any other lithium battery, and for sure this has definitely been super reliable. I can always count on this battery. In this Hobie bin, I actually put a little screw through the bottom, and I have this cam strap right here that secures that battery, so I can travel up and down the road, up and down the West Coast, and I don't have to worry about this battery going anywhere. I can be in rough water and have to worry about it moving places. Just a super easy way to keep that battery secured. And of course, I have my wires coming right to this, so if I need to, I can pull this battery out just by releasing that cam strap and also unloosing these screws, pull the battery out, go charge it inside. Usually in here, I just carry a little microfiber cloth to wipe off the screens, and also just in case, I carry an extra kill switch for my Torpedo throttle. You never know. There's a chance that I might lose it somehow off my PFD. I have an extra one so I can make sure I can get back to the boat launch. Now underneath this hatch is where I keep all my modules for everything that runs in this kayak. Obviously when you look in here, it's pretty clean overall. You have a 1 objective mounting plate that holds my active target tube box and also my KAYAK Power 8 circuit power hub. I have all the wiring tucked all the way into the back so that it's pretty clean overall. Of course, this goes to my battery, my Dakota Lithium, positive and negative, with a fuse of course. Now, like I said, I have it where I can pull my active target off if I need to. This is my transducer plug. Literally pull that out and I can feed my wire back through that plate and literally just pull this whole system out if I wanted to. So as you can see, I'm pulling the wiring out right now. And if I wanted to, the actual plug right there, it fits through that little through hole. I'll leave a link for this through hole in the description below. Again, everything in this kayak will be listed in my description. A lot of the stuff on here, you can purchase it. Literally this entire kayak, a lot of it's built from Amazon, a lot of the stuff on here. And of course, some of the major kayak accessory companies. Just to kind of wrap things up here we have my nav lights, red and green. I just bought these off of Amazon. The little stick-on ones where if they get damaged, you can see right through the damage, but they still fully work. If somehow these things don't work anymore, I can just pull them off. I think they're like $6 or $8 off of Amazon. You can just pull these off and then replace it. I have all the wiring just going right through into this hatch right here. Below that, we have our Burley Pro bumper bro. Love this thing. Think about how many times I pull this onto the boat launch, whether it is. It protects the hole on the kayak. I think that thing is super important. Pretty much every single kayak needs to have that for sure. Why not protect your investment? If you spend a lot of money on these kayaks, try to protect them as much as you can. And yeah, that is my 2023 tournament kayak build. It's crazy to see how much this kayak has progressed since the beginning of the year when I first got it. As I said a couple of times, you definitely don't need all these accessories and stuff on the kayak just to get out on the water. My kayak from last year literally just had one graph on it and that's it. It was pretty much just a bone stock Pro Angler. So before all the keyboard warriors drops comments in the comment section, oh, it might as well be a bass boat. Oh, you should have just bought a bass boat at this point. Well, if you look back at my videos, I've had a bass boat. I had a 21-foot bass boat. It was a nitro of a 225 Mercury on the back end. Tell you what, I definitely do enjoy fishing on a kayak way more than that. One, the big thing, expenses. I don't have to pay extra gas to tow it around. I don't have to put a whole bunch of gas money into it just to get it on the water. Literally all I have to do is just plug this thing into the house, charge up my batteries, boom, I'm on the water. Also now I don't have a place to store a bass boat. I just keep this thing in the garage. It's protected, gets me on the water whenever I need to. I used to have a 14-foot John boat, build a deck, have a trolling motor on the front, and tell you what, this thing is way better than that. stability wise, actually way better than that 14-foot John boat. But yeah, just wanted to put this video together to give you guys a final walkthrough of the kayak, how it sits right now. Hopefully this video helps you guys, give you some ideas for your future kayak build of what to do or what not to do. Again, most of the parts to this kayak build can be found in the description below. I have a full build list with links to almost everything that I've done to this kayak. And with that, we have one tournament left, which is our championship, and then we start breaking down this entire kayak build and get ready for next year's kayak. Currently, I got some parts just hidden around the garage for next year's kayak build, and I'm currently talking to a few companies to help with next year's kayak build. The plan is to use my experience from this build and try to build something better for next year. So if that interests you, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Next year's kayak build coming up in the next couple months. If you get a chance, make sure you smash that like button so that my videos can reach out to more people like yourself who are interested in this sort of content. As always, I appreciate you guys for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.